Oh, Simon, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you mind, for everybody listening, just introducing yourself?
Yeah, cool. So my name's Simon. I've got a few businesses, but my primary one is Evolve. So that's a branding agency who do business transformation and branding for what we refer to as high growth and ambitious businesses. I've also got a coffee company that we do primarily for charity, so helping charities raise money through selling our coffee. And I think they refer to it as a startup in stealth. So I'm going to refer to it as that I'm currently working on that is top secret.
Ah, interesting. So you've got a lot of projects on. You're
Yeah.
always busy. There's always something to think about, something to do. What was it that sparked your interest in working with us at Ideal Edge?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think it became clear that I kind of hit a point where I need to press on with business. I'm doing well. It's not a bad business, whatever, but it's like I want to go to the next level, right? And a lot of that's driven by the entrepreneur and the person who runs that business, which is me. So I wanted to be basically working at the very best I possibly could. I think the other thing is when I first started this business was 7 years ago. I don't know, I had more energy, more go. I used to work, God, stupid hours. I just can't do it anymore, So I'm getting a bit older, so I got to kind of find other ways to get that edge and get really kind of switched on and dialed in. I think the other thing which is important is, I want to raise some money, I want to grow business and so on and so forth. And I think there's something around kind of optics and perception. If you turn up to a meeting, you're overweight, you're tired, you're falling asleep in your coffee, it's no good, is it? You've got to be really, really on it. And that was where it really came from me, is making sure quite literally I had that edge when it came to the important conversations and growing my business.
Okay, so if you could give me just three things that you wanted to achieve when when we had the discussions about your health, what were your three main aims from working with me?
Yeah, I think I suffered a lot with kind of like bloating and feeling a bit slow and sluggish and things like that. So I had a feeling that there was a food group that probably didn't agree with me. I didn't really know what it was. I think also I have a problem where I'm very kind of in tune with my body. I kind of have these like vicious, what I call like doom cycles. So it's like get stressed, work late, don't sleep, and eventually get to a point where I just carb load and eat chocolate and drink about 100 coffees. And so actually you're not, it's kind of like peaks and troughs, and actually a lot of performance was driven artificially through eating certain kinds of foods and things which I know are not great for me, which wasn't really good, and wanted to kind of break that cycle. And then I think the final thing was around concentration. So I kind of dip in and out of stuff, and I ebb and flow, and I might be all in, dialed in for an hour or something like that, and then I drift off and go into something else. And I found a lot of that was backloaded toward the end of the day. So I'd hit like a random, like elite peak period at 9 p.m. and then suddenly think, oh, sugar, like I'm so late, I've got to go home. And my wife's thinking, why are you home so late? It's like, well, I was just suddenly got lost and just went into my work for ages. So again, I wanted to kind of move that around a bit and I guess kind of sort out my, is it circadian rhythm?
Circadian
One of
rhythm.
those,
Yeah.
to be a bit more kind of evened out.
Ah, okay, great. And how did you find the process with me? Because we ran your DNA. And was there anything, it certainly didn't surprise me when I saw your DNA, knowing your personality type, knowing you for as long as I have, it really didn't surprise me what I found. Did it surprise you, things that we found?
I think a little bit. I think the primary thing was I didn't expect gluten to be the problem, if you see what I mean. Like, if I was being really honest, I thought you were going to tell me that I couldn't have any red meat or something like that, right? And I was going to be devastating to me. Like, I love a steak, I love a burger, I love a lasagna. Lasagna is my favorite food, etc., etc. And I kind of thought that was what it was. So when it was gluten, and it suddenly, like, sounds really silly, but it kind of all made sense. Like you kind of open your eyes and you think back to those times that you were sluggish and got slow and whatever. And actually, it is those big pasta meals. I ate loads of bread, so for breakfast. So actually, then it all kind of comes unraveling, and you think, right, yes, that's what's slowing me down, is I'm literally eating something that's not good for me straight away in the morning and in the evening. And as a result, I'm kind of almost bookending my day with sluggishness.
Absolutely.
And I think that was the interesting thing for me and the kind of real eye-opener.
Yeah, and the double impact for you of gluten and what else we found in your DNA was a super interesting bit for me. The fact that you really struggle to convert folic acid into the usable form, which is all about neurotransmission, which is all about brain function, which is all about how your body formulates and processes information, as well as you not having the enzymes to be able to break down the gluten. What has been the impact on you as a person, the impact on your business and your family life from not only taking the gluten out, but just realigning how you eat, where you have coffee, getting that extra protein in? What's been the impact?
I think a few things. I think I felt like, I think you talk about inflammation, right? And I think for me, I kind of realized it wasn't just I was bloated like in my gut. I was actually just inflamed everywhere,
Yes.
right? And so just simply by, it took a while to cut out and I'm now like brutal on it. I just look a lot better and feel a lot better just instantly, like, because it's almost like everywhere.
Yes.
When everywhere gets a bit smaller,
Yes.
you naturally feel better, look better, my clothes fit better. People go to me, "Oh, Simon, you lost some weight, you look good." And actually, for the beginning of it, I hadn't lost any weight. I just reduced inflammation,
Yeah.
and as a result, I look better.
Yes.
And I think then over time, I have lost some weight and stuff, and I feel kind of better for that. And I think I kind of lost like 5-6 kilos, you know.
Without cutting your calories.
No, I think it's interesting, and I don't know whether you're the specialist, but I feel like almost gluten was like the gateway drug to other stuff, right?
Absolutely.
For me personally, obviously everyone's different, so I've almost got less interest in things that are unhealthy.
Yes.
And having large meals, or for example, last night my daughter and I had organised we're going to have a burger night, right? And so I knew I was going to have. I had a lentil dal all day. 200 calories, 300 calories. And then I had a not particularly healthy dinner. And then I was fine. Where before I would have had probably a scrambled egg on toast for breakfast. I would have had a reasonable size meal for lunch, had a burger, washed it down with 3 or 4 pints, and so it was almost like this kind of gateway thing. So I think it directly or indirectly stopped me seeking out like peaks of different foodstuffs, and I think I've just managed to cut carbohydrate as a whole, even things that don't contain gluten. It's just a natural thing. I think I'm probably having a more protein-rich diet and seeking out less things that are unhealthy. Like I'm not eating a huge bag of family crisps or anything like that.
Yeah, so you're not seeking out that dopamine hit, because one of the things I hear regularly when people do come off gluten is that they go into a little bit of withdrawal. It's not just the gluten, it's the carbohydrates, because you're cutting a major big carbohydrate food source out of your diet. But you were very strict with yourself at making sure you ate regularly, that you got your protein in, and that you weren't self-sabotaging yourself by cutting back on everything. What impact, when you talk about inflammation, and inflammation in the body directly impacts inflammation in the mind, how has this impacted your work, your thought process, the way you function neurologically?
Yeah, I think one is I've just got generally more energy. I'm like, it's difficult to explain, but almost like brighter, like the battery is always at 100%, and I think that's really important. And I feel that in my mind. And I think I've just got, I'm sort of more switched on, sharper, responding to things, so I think one of the worst things is when you're really tired, your brain's not quite working, and you've got to do a deal. As an entrepreneur, deals are kind of fundamentally important, and really the foundation of being quite successful in your business. And actually, I'll come to the table switched on, know what I'm doing. If someone's going to throw me a curveball or whatever, my brain just works so quickly. And even things like, people have said to me, "Oh, your brain's so fast. How do you even do that?" And I think it was always, I guess, quite quick.
Yes.
But it's almost now like the accelerator's on. I feel like any kind of curveball, any unplanned thing that can be thrown at me, which obviously happens a lot when you've got your own business,
Absolutely.
that I am, I guess, armed mentally to respond to that in the right way quickly, and don't put the phone down and think, "Oh, I should have said that," or should have, or I was so tired, I just wanted that to go away, so I just said yes, and that never felt good. And I think that's really, really important. And I think when it comes to actually my day to day, again, I sell time for money primarily. So if I charge you for a day and I procrastinate for 3 hours and then I'm suboptimal for another 4 hours and I procrastinate for another two, actually my margin's not great. You know, I'm not saying it's that bad, but you get the gist. Where actually, if I can just dial in, brains flying, 4 hours, it's all done. Great, bank the cash, onto something else. You know, and I think that's the other thing. It does indirectly have, for me, and I guess anyone else who does sell time for money, it has a commercial impact as well.
Awesome. Now, one thing I'm seeing a lot, especially around entrepreneurs and founders, is a real rise in ADHD. And I know you and I have spoken in the past. Neither of us have got a diagnosis, but we're very in tune with our bodies. We are very self-aware people and have questioned whether we have ADHD tendencies. With ADHD comes a whole heap of challenges when it comes to personal boundaries, when it comes to obsessiveness, when it comes to procrastination. What would you say to any other founders out there who are potentially thinking about getting an ADHD diagnosis, potentially thinking about some changes they could make that may be able to help themselves without going down that route of, I probably think I am, do I want to know, or are there some changes I could make? What advice would you give to those entrepreneurs and founders out there that question, do they have some ADHD symptoms and what to do about it?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think you can develop your own kind of coping mechanisms or strategies that don't require medication, right? So for me, being insanely busy is a really good thing. I actually struggle more when I haven't got that much to do, or there's no impetus, or I'm having a quiet week or whatever. Actually becomes harder. So the fact that I've got 3 businesses, I used to have a podcast, God knows what else, is actually really good, because I can jump from one to the other, and actually, you know, then does become a superpower, because you're working on 5 things to a high standard simultaneously.
Absolutely.
Where most people couldn't do that. I think the other thing is, like I said, diet and the program, things that you've built for me, has made a really big impact as well. So I think probably before we started to have a conversation, I'll be thinking, right, I need to go and get some pills of some description to fix this. I kind of don't really think about that anymore. You know, I just feel like I'm good. And also, I'm almost like I don't know the way to describe it, but like the right side of it, in terms of actually, I can use it to really push on. And the thing that I'm working on that's sort of top secret is a passion of mine that is my rabbit hole, you know. So again, with the clarity of thought and the clarity of mind, you think, well, why am I not doing that? You know, I do this every evening. I should get paid for it. Let's just do that, you know. And I think that's really helped me in terms of focusing on passions and the things that I enjoy, while simultaneously managing to do the other things that perhaps I would have procrastinated or put to the bottom of the piles now get done as well.
Amazing. And what advice would you give to other founders, other entrepreneurs out there that are struggling with their energy, potentially know something's a bit off, that just don't know where to go?
Yeah, I think everyone's different, right? So I would see myself as non-traditional, like, so I get loads of energy in the evening. I go to the gym at 9 p.m. at night. I often work at 11 p.m. But like, I'm just forgiving of myself. I don't want to fit into someone else's, must get up at 6 a.m., go for a run at 7, in the office at 7. I start most days at 10, because that's when I start to get going, and I finish late because that's when I'm the best. Do you know what I mean? So I think, don't necessarily feel that you need to conform to what someone else says that you should. So I think from I guess kind of dialing into myself a bit more, I've done that. And then, you know, introduce different things and try different things. So for example, it's not great working out at 9. Actually, could I get up a bit earlier? And the time that I would have just wasted doom scrolling or whatever it is in the morning, can I actually go to the gym? And I still start every day at 7, at 10 or 11 or whatever it might be. But I've actually got the gym sorted now, so I can do my 10-hour shift or whatever it might be at that point after some exercise, and we're all good, you know. So I think that's the things I wouldn't be trying to copy someone else.
Yeah.
Just look at yourself and think, when do I perform best? What's my own kind of rhythm? What does that look like? And then I think also forgive yourself. Like, there's a thing about when you're in business, you think you should be working all the time, but actually sometimes, like, really suboptimal, like I've done an hour of good work in every 4, it's pointless. Take a day off, go on holiday, recharge the batteries, and come back at work 400% rather than 25%.
And what would you say to other founders out there who were just wanting this clarity around where they are, what to eat, what supplements to take, whether there is something more they could do? What would you say the first step would be for those?
I think obviously with your test is obviously you've got your actual DNA. So it is me. It's not a generic thing. It's not something I just found on the internet. I didn't find some TikTok trend or whatever it is. You've told me this doesn't agree with you. This and this don't work well together. And so I think I'd definitely be looking at getting a bespoke plan, as I said, because we're all different. We all work in different ways. There is no one size fits all. We've all got different genetic makeup and so on and so forth. So that's something I'll be looking at is to find out about yourself, not others that seem in the same category as you, because you could line up another 30 Simons and we all say the same thing, right? And they could have copy and pasted exactly what I just said, but actually half of them, gluten's absolutely fine, but for me it's not so good. The folic acid that you talked about could have been fine. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the first step, and I think the ability to really commit to it. So I think I remember I was like at the beginning, is it and what got me randomly is I cut it all out, and then one day I just needed to get some food, and I bought some granola squares from Sainsbury's. I started eating these and I was like, I don't feel good. Have these got gluten in? And I checked and they did, which I didn't expect. And it was obvious. It's like I could feel it in myself once I cut it out, that even something I didn't expect, my body knew that wasn't right for me. And I think it's just those little things that then, once you then full commit, you get it's almost like a staircase, like you can then layer on something else and something else and something else. And it feels easier because you're taking small steps, as opposed to if you said to me, I got to take these pills, do this exercise, it would all really just overwhelm me and I would have probably done the first step. So I think that's the other thing is pick something that's comfortable for you to go, right, I'm going to cut this or eat more of this or do more, whatever it might be, and then layer it on from there.
Absolutely.
And I think you can start to feel the benefits over time, rather than think, especially my kind of personality, got to go wholesale, like I actually probably think I wouldn't have had such benefit because I wouldn't have committed to it, I don't think, because it would have felt too big and too large a change.
Absolutely. One change, commit to it, get the support, roll it out, understand the changes, understand how your body feels, and understand how you feel when you wobble off. That's how consistent, manageable change is steadied in. Then once that's nailed, then on to the next bit. Amazing, Simon. I'm really grateful for your time.
Thank you very much.